Hello, hello. Let's turn that music down about right here. Maybe even more. Somewhere right there. Okay. Hopefully that should be good. Let me turn it down a little bit on my end. There we go. Just to have a little something in the background, but nothing too crazy. Let me put that here. Boom. Yo, welcome to the second official Varia art stream. I'm Wes Gardner, one of the illustrators for Guildhouse Games. Work with them quite a few times. I think this is our fourth official commission that we've been doing for the crew and the gang over there at Guildhouse Games. It's a ton of fun. The card game is awesome. It's a lot of fun to play. I'm very bad at it. as it is with most card games, but I love them. So I can't help that. So we are going to unveil kind of a brand new, not only piece of art, but a brand new card, and it's something that I believe is introducing a mechanic into the game. And the character that we're doing is one of my favorites. I've had the pleasure of seeing a lot of the different characters that are being developed and being worked on and talked about in some of the official documentation. And out of all of them, I think this one might be my favorite. And now I'm very biased because now I get to work on a card with this character. But I just, you know whenever a good character speaks to you, that's what's happening here. But without further ado, I'm going to break down what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be painting, and we're just going to start painting away. This is, at the same time, going to be the most simple card I've ever painted and the most difficult card I've ever painted. Sounds weird, because it is weird. So let me hop over to the live scene. So let me move this out of the way. What we have here is... It is a card called White Out, which is kind of fitting because here in Texas, we're pretty much now in a state of emergency because of the the ice storms that are coming in and snow, and tonight going into tomorrow is supposed to be brutal. So this might be oddly fitting. But Whiteout is essentially a card that the Ranger class, Palabi, think of a mix between a Chewbacca and an Ewok. So a big guy, like his personality is like Uncle Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Very jovial, laughs a lot. He's a merry old fella, but when push comes to shove, he means business. He has a great ice pick and a giant harpoon gun that can shoot 4 harpoons at the same time, either like a Gatling gun or just like all in one, like a supersonic shot, which is awesome. But the cool thing is he is also very used to the weather, and he has this magical ability. It's almost, think of a ninja smoke screen, but he can have the elements of winter like brushing over him. So basically the way this started is I was given the commission by Anthony over at Guildhouse Games, and he talked about, hey, we need a card to show off. Here's a character that's going to do it. So it's the Ranger class, but then what it's going to be is it's going to be a blockout. This is going to be a way to smoke screen visual. So it's going to play with the mechanics a little bit. But he was like, but here's the tricky part. You're good at character art. You're good at fun ambience and thick, values and big bombastic stuff. Because I had done Calamity. I've also done like Ice Rapier and Acid Tsunami, which are all very bombastic-y, big, like, in the case of Calamity, a literal shatter, like shattering type cards, big cards like that. He was like, this one is all about subtlety, in so much that we barely need to see the art. And that's cool, but it goes against everything I've been like classically trained in doing illustration. Is you want very high contrast. You want very easy to read shapes. You want it to be able to be read a far away, especially for a card game, because not only do you want to see the art and know what card it is immediately, you want your opponent to have the same thing, even if it's upside down. So you have to think about big shapes and things like that. But what happens when you have your big shapes and now they're hidden over a giant gloss of white? What do you do? So that's what we're going to find out. So basically right here is the sketch that I have. Let me hide that. So I was very much inspired by Akira Kurosawa. I'm a big fan of Japanese, old black and white, like Japanese films. Anything Kurosawa is in my wheelhouse for sure. And because of the high contrast, the big shapes, the light, the smoke, like it's all very dramatic. So I started with that, like, okay, I painted a little snowstorm. Here's our character. He has this is kind of a face mask. And think of like a polar bear, but instead of the snout coming out, it's more like an Ewok where it's pressed in, almost like a pug nose, like closer to the face. But that's even gonna be covered with kind of a more blocky, like one of those, almost not a gas mask necessarily, but an air filtration system to allow him to be able to breathe in this type of condition. And then he has cool like beast teeth, like almost like shark teeth, like a surfer would collect. But these are beasts that he has fell in battle. And he has an ice pick, which not only helps him traverse his surroundings in the tundra, but also it's good for melee. And then of course he has his giant harpoon gun. Now the giant harpoon gun's not going to be in this one. I made 2 other sketches. One of him just standing, almost like I pictured Vulcan Raven from Metal Gear Solid, to where he was standing with his Gatling gun, and there was a ton of snow and stuff everywhere, but he was kind of far away. He was probably 30 or 40 yards back from the viewer. And then the other one was him, like, it was more kind of the League of Legends style splash art, to where he's jumping through the smoke and stuff, and he has his ice pick in his hand, like swinging it. But that was a little too, once again, it became about the ranger. It became about the character instead of the whiteout, instead of the snow, instead of the storm. So the storm is actually the main character of this. We just have to have our ranger character to play the snow off of, if that makes sense. So we're basically, the character is here to sell the idea of how thick and scary that snow is. So that's why it's kind of backwards. It's a very simple idea, because a lot of the art I'm going to do, you won't be able to see it anyway. It's just covered. It's covered in white. But we still have to make sure it reads. We have to make sure that it's still quote unquote iconic, that if you look at the art, you just know, oh, that's whiteout. I know for a fact it's whiteout. Because whenever you play it, you want that hit of adrenaline. You want your enemy, the person you're up against, your co-player, to also have that same hit of like, oh man, oh, he played whiteout. Now I gotta, rethink my strategy. So yeah, so this is what we have right now. It was basically the quick sketch that we had, and I added values to it. So at first it was like this. I just had my blocked out sketches, and then for me, I put 200mm lens. I think very cinematically whenever I make art, because I want to see it if I'm like directing it. So 200mm lens is something that it's a super shallow depth of field, which means that the lens, instead of being able to see everything around you, you're really honing in on one thing. And not only that, but like everything in the background is completely blurred out, but then the face is very close and a lot of very specific detail. So that's what I wanted. I wanted to have this kind of set up for the shapes, and then this is whenever I blocked in the value to kind of show, okay, back here you have the smog, you have that to kind of silhouette the ranger's profile, basically. But then whenever I turned this in, Anthony and Sean were both like, hey, this is awesome. We don't want to see it. We want it to be completely covered in snow. So that's whenever Anthony had the great idea. He basically took my art. He was like, hey, I just did a really quick thing. I did a white overlay layer, changed the opacity a little bit, and got us something about like right here, which is great, because what I did is I made a copy of this, and this is our values. right here. So this gray, let me see if this is 50% gray or not. Boom. Let me come up here. Let me also duplicate this layer. Is this... So that's even lighter than 50% gray. So yeah, our first thing we need to do is make our value sheet to break things into values. And what that is basically how dark and how light does your art get. So it looks like this would be a 4-step piece where you'd have your first step is pure white, then you get progressively darker, closer to black, but it would never give above 40 to 50% gray. So it's about a 4-step, which helps me. But yeah, this is basically the type of palette we're going to be using. So like I said, there's no color, so it was very important for me and to me to find good reference. So this is what actually happens in snowstorms. The visibility as you get further away takes a hit. And see how you can see this is basically just a silhouette. Like these are photographs. These are photographs in a snowstorm. So as something's closer to the camera, it's going to be a little darker as far as value. And you can see there's yellow right here. You can see the red, but look how desaturated it is. It's almost pure gray. Same thing here. You can see stoplights. The intensity of the light pierces through, but it's still, there's so much atmosphere there. There's so much air and all of that it's just, it's a lot. So whatever shapes we make, we're going to be covering them. And all of my stuff, I talked about Akira Kurosawa earlier. These are the reference pictures that I use. This was that first one where it was that Vulcan Raven standing strong and like holding onto his gun. This is the one where he was jumping out of smoke. You can see here he had a sword in his hand, and then also I had another piece like right here. Who was this? This was Thomas. Thomas did awesome art for Wizards of the Coast back in 2015 of kind of a snowstorm beast coming out. But our card is going to be even wider, even more blown out, even more snowy than this. So basically where the hoof is, this is what we're going to mimic. We're going to mimic this, but even drop this even more as far as the value contrast. And then we got some poses. These were the poses that I was looking at. This is Li Jinyin. He's one of my favorite artists in the world. He did an amazing series of Assassin's Creed speed portraits. And I love the mood that he got here, which is why I kind of mimicked it here. I love the shape of the hood, where the hood's coming down and like concealing the eyes. So we're going to use this as kind of mood reference. And then pose reference. This was from... What comic was this from? X-Force? No. This looks too new to be X-Force. God, I can't remember. But look through this. I have hundreds of comics on Comixology, and I like to go through and look at their poses sometimes, because comic art is very dynamic, and you want card art to be dynamic as well. So we have that for the color deals. And then on another off-screen deal over here, I'll just show it real quick. Boop, that one. That is all of the internal notes that Guildhouse Games gave me for the Ranger character class and the Pahlavi character race, I believe. So I don't want to show these on stream a lot. We might back and forth a little bit, but I want to keep these off screen. I'm still going to use these as reference, but I'm going to keep them over here. But yeah, this just says, hey, to stay on, to stay in the lore, here's things you got to remember, which is very helpful. I'm always happy whenever art directors give me guidelines. A lot of people will think guidelines for an artist are bad. Guidelines for an artist are great because it allows us to be creative and work within them. We don't want to turn in something that's not going to work. That's not my job. My job is not making art that's like, oh, I'm going to get myself over and I'm going to make the coolest stuff and, no one can tell me what to do because I'm the artist. please tell me what to do. Please give me a direction, give me a deadline, give me more confinement is better, because now we can find what we're really looking for. You know what I mean? It's like, I always talk about having a map. You want a map, or you at least want some sort of directions on where you're going, because you're going to arrive there better. It's going to be a better trip. Same thing for art. You definitely want to know where you're headed and what your final destination should be. All right, enough jibba jabba. Let's actually start painting. Oh, I got a little stuffy nose, so I might get some medicine here in a minute. But like I said, man, this weather. Woo! Weather is crazy. All right. So you see this big shape? Like, we don't even know really what this is. This could be a house, this could be a road, they could be on the side of the road and the camera's looking up and over. But all we know is there's a big shape. So I think what our first order of business is to simplify this even more. It's already really simple, but I think simplifying this even more with the shapes and refining these edges is going to be the thing that really starts making this pop and come alive. So let's do that real quick. Let's come over here. Okay. So I made a duplicate there. Got my pen. All right. Oh, I'm getting notifications on the old Twitter. All right. Cool. Getting tagged in some awesome art chairs. That's always a lot of fun. So thank you to everyone doing that. Appreciate you. Let's come back over. I'm going to get my platinum set. I'm going to work with hard round opacity. You cannot beat a hard round brush. Just can't do it. It's too good. And we are going to pick... Yeah, we are going to pick these colors from the palette we already have. Man, it is crawling right now. Oh my gosh. Okay. You know what we're gonna do? Let's do this. Select all, edit, copy merged. Yeah, it's grinding right now. File new. That, got it, edit, paste. There it is. Okay. Now let's get rid of the setup. No. Get rid of the setup. This should make it a little easier. Oh my gosh, it's still kind of crawling. Freaking Photoshop, man. It's slow. Might hop to a different software in a minute if it still does this. Okay, that's better. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna work within the confines of this palette and just get our basic shapes in, and then we're gonna subtly go in and start rendering. Marco! My man. Welcome, brother. Good to see you, dude. You've been crushing it on YouTube lately. This. So really our ranger is going to be a very specific shape. And we're going to go in at the very end and add all the snow and the cool brush movement and stuff. It's just right now you have to get your shapes looking good before we start adding all the other stuff. Right here, let me get rid of this. We are gonna keep this. So yeah, it's just about this blocking. I do like the fact that his eye kind of glows through the snow, almost like since he can control that whiteout weather, he's able to control being able to look through it. So we have that, and like gonna make that a little crazy right there, and then we are definitely going to kind of blend in between. But yeah, right now it's just about making these shapes really prominent. And his ice pick is going to be very solid. We want to make sure this is rendered really well, which is kind of nice because this is a good practice for me to be able to fully render and make it look really, really tight without worrying so much about colors and lighting and all that. Because since this is overcast, and actually, that's not the right place where it needs to be. Because it's overcast and we have so much snowfall, it is going to kind of block out any harsh light. So we can get away with just having very solid structural shapes. Let's do... And here in a minute, I'm going to look at the reference for the ice pick. There's a very specific design they have, which is a really good design. So I want to make sure that we nail that, because that's part of the lore. That's part of the Ranger character class, is they have this, this character in particular has his harpoon gun and also has his ice pick. So we want to make sure that both of them are very prominent if they're displayed. Then I do like that. I'm just gonna put that there. We'll come back and refine that a little later. But I like that wedge, sort of the anchor point, or the hinge or whatever. Yeah, so this is just about really making these shapes make sense. And then if we want to get like razor sharp lines, a cool thing you can do is get the lasso tool. And this is is it a point lasso? What's it called? Polygonal lasso. And then you can make a selection. So if we want to do this, I'm gonna come down and make these really sharp selections. And then what you do and that there, right there. There we go. Now, since this is selected, everything that we paint on the inside of it, it will not go out of the lines. So it's a great way to make sure we get super, super sharp edges. And then what's really nice is you invert the selection. So you select everything that's not this, and then go over it with a darker color. And then after we get done, you'll see how sharp it looks comparatively. A really nice trick, and it saves a ton of time. Because this is just a great way to have a silhouette. And then normally I would make a selection like this and put it on its own layer. That way any sort of detail we needed to put on, we could do that later. And in fact, I might do that after we color this in. I might bring this to its own specific layer that we can work with. Here, we'll come over here, something like that. This just basically makes your life easier as an artist, because you don't have to worry about razor sharp edges, because the program does it for you. It's great. A way to do this on a traditional canvas is to get either masking tape or like painter's tape and put it over any straight lines you want to do. That's really helpful if you're painting something like a sailboat and it has the sail sticking up and you need that to be like razor sharp, but you're using real paint and you don't want it to smear around. You just basically tape, and then leave a little strip where your paint goes. This is basically the digital version of doing that, and it's very helpful. Very helpful. Yeah, I like the white tip, almost like it has snow kind of built up on it. Same thing here. Let me come over there. And remember, we're staying very, very, very fine-tuned on our values. So we have that. There we go. Cool. So this. Gotcha. Now we do this, edit. You go copy merged, edit paste. Now we have just the ice pick on its own layer. I'm gonna lock the transparency, meaning that nothing can go outside of it. So if we start photo bashing, putting textures in it, making it look a little more roughed up, it will not go outside. We can use it basically as a clipping mask. And then let me name this ice pick. Cool. So we got that. We're gonna hide that. So now, what's nice is now I have no selection anymore. If I just go over to the ice pick layer, right click it, select pixels, now we have that exact same selection again, which is cool. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over this way, select inverse. So now it's everything but the ice pick. And that's where you come in, and then to really sell it, select this color and go across the sides. Let's do that. Okay. Something like that. Now that's how you get super sharp edges, which is handy for what we're going to be doing later. So now let's render out our boy. Let's render out our ranger here. So I got, like I said, I have the, I'm not going to keep this up on the screen a lot, but I have the design documents right here, the internal documents. But since those are still under non-disclosure agreement, I'm not going to show those very much. I just need them to be able to see what type of texture and fabric we're going to be using, because that's going to let me know how I'm going to render this. Okay, we have that. I don't need a lasso. Stop it. I don't need that. No. Deselect. There we go. Okay. So we need just kind of going over his face. He has like really cool teddy bear, like panda bear ears. So I want to keep those. I like those. I might actually make the ears a little bigger. So that is the benefit about working in a super limited palette. You can easily change shapes of stuff and sizes, and because the silhouette is different, you know what I mean? So like, you can easily just change that energy and what that looks like. So if we want to come over here, and then this one can kind of come right there. Yeah. So they're a little floppy. They're not standing straight up. They're a little floppy. I could probably make it a little bit smaller, which means I can probably just extend this out a little bit. And then it over there. that. Remember, harsh edges. I don't need this circle, the bokeh, right now. We'll do all, like I said, we'll do all that stuff later. So it looks like the top of his hood is a little torn. That's a cool effect and adds a lot of personality. So let's go ahead and add that into ours. A little wobbly here. And another way you can sell this, you see how we put a little bit of some of those cracks right there. Another thing you can do, come in here, I'm gonna color pick and then get a really small brush. This is like a 9 pixel brush. Come in and add some threads where it's frayed, because normally a tear like that is caused because there's a split and the threads can't hold on to each other. So something like that, just nice little connecting lines to make sure that we're getting that. Get rid of that one. Curve that over. Okay. So see, just because it's super light value contrast doesn't mean you can't put a lot of detail in. It's just nice because I basically have my palette right here. We're not going to go any darker, but we will go lighter. We will go pure white. It's just I don't want to work with pure white yet. I want to save pure white for the highest point of contrast. So probably the nose, like the nose area, maybe this part of the mask once I figure out the shape. So this is work. What's up? What's up, Marco? Yeah, dude, this is it. This is a full-on commission. The NDA has lifted. This is a upcoming card that will actually be published in a new deck for Varia. So this is like the real McCoy, man. This is what I do. Which is, I love the fact that they lifted the NDA again. I loved Calamity. Calamity was just such a kind of a calamity. It was such a weird card that people that were watching, it was neat. I thought it would be like a cool stream, but it's such a weird idea that it's hard to like, because it's shattered glass and 3 different paintings and stuff is flipped upside down and like, it's hard to keep track of. But this is way more subdued, and I'm glad that they allowed me to stream this, because this is very good practice for me. Even still, even if it's work, it's a great way to get practice, because it is very subtle, and having that nice balance is going to be helpful moving forward. Because usually the card's somewhere in the middle. You want it to be entertaining and fun, but also you want to have some painterly artistic integrity to it. So this is more on the artistic side. This is more of the devil's in the details, and it's very since we're not working with a big value range and no color, every brushstroke counts, which is why at the same time this is the most simple commission I've gotten from Varia, and also by far the most difficult, because there's nothing you can hide from. You can't use the normal tricks that you would in illustration to fool the eye. You just got to do it. You just got to paint the thing. You got to paint it, and you got to cover it with white and hope it still looks good. You know. But I live for it, man. This is the type of stuff that I love, because it is so difficult, and it makes me scratch my head, because I'm like, how am I gonna do this? You know. Yes, YouTube that's a great thing, because YouTube thumbnails have to be readable, and they have to be able to be parsed at a very small deal, because they're on the sidebar. You want yours to stick out, but how do you do that? Do you do the thing to where you have, you know, faces and arrows pointing at stuff, and, you know, as corny as that stuff is, there's a reason why it works. And like, I do the same thing on paintings like this. I it's visceral, compelling. I'll complete my point on the thumbnails, and then I'll talk about Marco's compelling statement. But there's you want it to be easy to read. You want it, so that's why circling things and pointing arrows. Now, painters and like illustrators for fantasy art and stuff like that, we're not that obvious about it, but we do the same thing. We make arrows all the time. Like, perfect example, you see this background, how it's lighter, and how these brush strokes are moving in to point. Also, notice that the snow is moving at a diagonal, bringing us across the face. But then notice how the shark teeth are kind of working as a reverse arrow. They're all emanating from the central point and then going outwards. It's like a sunburst. So that's what you do. You're playing with the eye. You're playing with the attention of where you're looking. But anyway, to go back on the compelling point, I've known Marco, dude, how long have we known each other? Like, man, has it been like 13 years? God dang, maybe longer than that even. But we did a podcast together called Brothering Around, and did it for a long time. Got a lot of episodes into. A nice podcast, but we both come from kind of a video game background. I used to be a freelance writer for Ziff Davis and One Up Magazine back whenever that was a thing. It was easily over a decade ago. And then Marco was actually quality assurance at Sega. So he worked on games like Yakuza, Chrome Hounds, some of my favorite stuff. His name's in the credits, man. He got that credit. But we would always talk about, in critique industries, people would say words that didn't mean anything. And compelling is one of those. Like, it's an empty word because you're like, oh, it's so compelling. Don't tell me it's compelling. Tell me what compelled you to play it. That's what it is. Like, I don't care if it's compelling. I care what aspects of it made it compelling. You know what I mean? But compelling, it's like visceral. What does that mean? Like raw. What does that mean? Like, tell me more about the actual substance of what you're trying to say. And it's kind of funny that we have those conversations back in the day, because that's sort of what my job is now, is I have to figure out what people are, what they want, and they can use those words, but what version of visceral are you talking about? Are you talking about like gory? Is it something that's over abundant? Is it, is it primitive? Is it primal? Is it, what do you mean? Or is visceral, is it more like mental? Is it more of kind of a head scratcher? Because those are two very different prompts. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's the same thing. So it's funny we discussed that back in the day because it still comes up. Start 9 Riots, what's up? Hey, welcome. Glad to see you. Glad you can join us. So yeah, it's that is the nice thing. And honestly, hopefully we'll have Anthony or Sean from Guildhouse Games show up here in a bit. Maybe they can go into some detail about what they're looking for, because they're the one that hire the artists, but also have to direct the artist on what to do, which is a very difficult job. Like, I am an artist. I know how we are. We can be very finicky. We can be very, visceral. No, I just thought of the word, so I had to say it. No, we can be, we can be kind of divas. Artists can be a little aloof. I like the fact that I came from a tech background, that I've had like manual labor jobs. I've worked a lot before I settled on this as a career path. So I'm able, and I've been in management roles. I've done like professional teaching and development and stuff. I've gotten past the point to where I kind of tiptoe around it. If I need to know what I need to make, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to be like, so what do you want me to, like, it's fine to talk about big ideas and, oh, I want people to feel this way and this way. What do you want me to draw? What do you want me to paint? Like, we need to figure this out. And then we can figure out what the mood is. We can figure out what to do in regards to making the viewer feel a certain way. Dude, it's crazy. Like, I still cannot believe my name's now in Warhammer forever. Like, my goal is, and I have a saying now where I very much abide by the two to make it true. So I'm in Warhammer, that's awesome. I need to be in Warhammer again. I need to get hired for that second time to really kind of, you can luck out once. You know what I'm saying? You can luck out one time. You can get the gig one time. You can get showcased, you be on TV or whatever one time. The secret is, can you deliver the second time? And that's what is going to make the difference, in my opinion, about like the one-hit wonders. And you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be, at least I don't want to be, a one-hit wonder on like, oh, I remember the one time I was in Warhammer. Oh, that was great. That doesn't feel like I earned it. It feels like they hired me, they kind of liked it, but not really. So now they went on to bigger and better people. Yeah, you don't want that to be your legacy. You don't want your legacy to be like, I got to do the thing one time. It's cool to get it one time, and don't get me wrong, I'm super grateful and blessed that I got it one time, because that's a dream gig. But hopefully I did good enough that I will get rehired. Because your work on a professional level, not only does it have to be good for what you're working on right now, it has to be good for getting future business as well, because that's what other art directors are seeing. Like, okay, you got hired for this, but did you deliver? Were you a diva? Did you get your stuff in on time? In fact, the due date for the thumbnails for this piece are due 4 days from now. I already turned in my thumbnails. This is the final. What we're working on is the final. I have about 15 days. No, 15, 14, 13, 12 to 13 days left. I'm going to get it done way before then, because I don't want to keep Anthony and Sean and the team at Guildhouse Games waiting. I do not want them to wait on me to get their products out the door. That's not my intent. My intent is not to keep my clients waiting. I do not do that. So really what we're doing right here, I'm just refining more shapes. I'm gonna find where the planes of this mask, this is almost like a gas mask covering his face. I'm putting in these values so we can kind of see where we're at. And see what I mean? There has to be a subtle difference in these values right here. See how this is a little brighter than that is right there? Since this is the top of the mask, it needs to be a slightly different value. But I'm talking super subtle, super slight difference. Got this. Let's find, so we have his nose. Let's refine his nose a little bit. Got that. And also, I want to be kind of a jack of all trades in regards to, I want Anthony and I want the team at Guildhouse to know that no matter what their idea is, I can deliver it. Which is why I was so excited when they brought about this commission for me, because it's so different than my past ones. So I want to show that I can work super subtle in the same way that I can also work super bombastic. So no matter what, they don't have to feel like, well, we have this great idea, but we can't do it because we don't have an artist that can push the envelope and make that a reality. I want them to be able to make and create whatever card and whatever lore they want to. because I want to see it come to fruition. Because if it has cool lore, which Varia really does, there's a lot of great lore, even on the website, you can read it already. They get some amazing writers, and Anthony was a writer for many years for Magic the Gathering. So he's worked with, I think it's either Magic or Dungeons and Dragons is the biggest fantasy property on the planet Earth. And he's worked on it. You know what I mean? So it's great to allow him to, what ideas do we have? Like, what can we make a reality? And to see that come to life is like, I'm honored to be a part of that. I'm gonna keep some of this. But you see how I'm almost flattening all of my shapes? So as it gets further back, this is what we're kind of looking at. I'm even going to bring in this lighter color right here as well, kind of over here. Let's see, let me get these sharp edges. But what is cool about this, all of my studying and things like that, whenever I do things like, I'll post it on Twitter, I'll talk about things like limited palettes. Like, oh, on this one I used the Zorn palette, and it's only 4 colors, and I had to, and here's a value study, and it's because of stuff like this. Like, if I was so caught up on color, and then they're like, actually, can you make a piece of art that's not in color? I would flip out. I'd be like, oh, I can't do it. I need color. I learned all my tricks, and I need color to be able to tell the story. But now I don't. I've done enough of the studies that I'm like, okay, whew, now I don't have to worry about color. Great. Let's see. So, something that I noticed, I'm going to bring this down a little bit. And then I'm going to bring this down a little bit, because I'm looking at the design of this mask, and I want to make sure we nail the design the way it's shown. It looks like there's some other lines. Let's do some of this. Looks like it's a little cracked and craggy. So we're gonna add just almost like tree branch lines to show that it is cracked, that the mask has seen some work. You know, it's seen some stuff. Let's bring that down. Okay. Okay. This. Also, the mask does have a strap going around here. So what we want to do, gonna hit that. Maybe actually make that a little bigger. Okay. And then what we're gonna do, we're going to take the soft round brush, pick that shadow color. There you go. So it recedes back into that shadow. So see, it's very, can't even see this detail half the time, but we know it's there, you know? We know it's there for sure. And it looks like there's actually, on this part, is actually a circle. So let's get the hard round opacity make that circle like that. Got that. And then bright. Okay. We have kind of that triangle shape, which is going to work pretty well. And then this one, I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to show a profile. Okay. So we get that. That's tilted down. That look right? Actually, I think this needs to be further over. So like this. And then from here, we like that shape. I think that curves. Yeah, there we go. And that curves. Okay, it's starting to look a little more like a mask. And then what we'll do is we'll actually take this, we'll slim that down a little bit, and then we will very subtle. That perspective looks a little off. I think what I actually have to do, yeah, that's why. We're going to erase this. So the box is actually going to be up, down, okay. Let me save this while we're in the middle of the Varia, let's see, white out full one. Okay, so we got that. Then that's at that angle. We need this box over here a little smaller. Let's get rid of this.
So, Amber texted. For an electric provider, let us know that falling blackout start.
Oh, okay.
So if your electricity without a
Okay. So, since weather is crazy in Texas, we might be getting blackouts real quick. They're about to start blackouts to mitigate a lot of the other stuff. So if I go offline, I do apologize. Ironic that we're doing a card called Whiteout. Marco said hi, Britt.
Oh, hi.
That's my lovely wife. No, for sure. Yeah, no, thank you, because knowing my luck.
Yeah.
So, got this. So, really, one, it's a good thing we saved. But if we do go offline, I do apologize. Really, it's just about getting these shapes in here. I need to get this. I need to figure out where. Yeah, see something like this. Really kind of put 3 squares right here. But yeah, Texas is in such a bad way. I think the governor declared a state of emergency. So good thing is we went to the grocery store today and got everything we needed. But it was bad. It was definitely bad. See, that's not quite the right angle. Something like that's a little closer to what we need. And there. You know what we could do? Since we have a digital art tool and everything, here's what we do. Instead of trying to keep painting this over and over and repainting, why don't I just open, make another shape, fill in this shape, and then do this. Deselect. Now we're going to transfer this over here, and we are going to fit it in perspective. So it looks like it'll even be something like that, maybe. Where it's there. See, and I'm looking up at my navigator just to see if I do this and then kind of move it down. Yeah, something like this, maybe. Cool. Let me move that up a little. It's kind of a tricky angle because his face is not, oh yeah, we got a ton of snow. And it's going to get even worse throughout the night. It's going to get down to like where it feels like 1 degree outside, maybe even below 0, which is crazy. So it is oddly fitting that we have a card art called Whiteout, because that's currently what we're experiencing. So yeah, once again, if you're just joining in, welcome. Our power might be going out shortly. Hopefully not, knock on wood. But the power companies are about to start doing rolling blackouts to mitigate some of the usage of all the power. Something like that. So, something like this. Gonna keep saving for sure. So really it's about kind of painting out some of these edges. There we go. So stuff like this, and then you have some of the craggy look right here. And I think this needs kind of a little suction area. So we're going to take that black, and we're going to outline this. All right. Okay. Little bits here and there. Cool. Yeah, but I think it's funny that our governor is like, yeah, probably gonna issue that there state of emergency. Because, I mean, Texas, we're just not used to the weather. You know what I mean? We're not used to this. Like, if we were up north, it would make total sense. Like, oh, yeah, schools are closed, but, you know, we know what to do. In Texas, not a lot of people know how to deal with it. You know? Thankfully, Oklahoma had its fair share of snowstorms and ice storms that, like, shut down cities and stuff while I was in college there, and learned how to drive in it, and, like, it's part of our driver's ed, so I feel comfortable in it. It's still scary, but I know what to do, you know. Just, it's not necessarily about how much you know, it's about everybody else not knowing stuff and being on the same road as you. That's what's really scary. So it's nice to be able to go out and, like, get the groceries and stuff while we still can. But my iPad is charging right now, so it's one of those things that what I'll probably do, might be able to upload a version of this real quick to my, well, not Google Drive, because I'd need Wi-Fi to get that, but I can still make some art today. Okay. We have this. The other thing about this is we need to make this to where it will print well. Everything prints slightly darker than what it looks. We maybe have a little bit of snow once a year, but nothing to where, I mean, the lowest temperature it gets is like 29 degrees. So it's not, but now it's like 19. And then overnight it's going to get colder, and then we're going to wake up, and I think they said it's going to be about 4 degrees, but it's going to feel like -5. So we get snow and slush, but it's always just that temperature enough to where it sticks, but it's slushy. But now, no, it's just pure ice outside right now. Like, that's what the people don't really know how to drive on if they're not super experienced with it. You know, they get so freaked out, and then they slam on their brakes, and I mean, stuff that is an absolute no-no, you know. It's all about barely throttling, like little bits. You just need to find a small little pocket of traction. That's all you really need. Don't need to overdo it. And then if you start sliding, sure, you can slam on the brake, but that'll probably make you slide more. So if you're not around anybody, go for it. But if you are, best thing you can do is let off the gas, turn into it, let it do its thing. You shouldn't be going very fast on ice anyway. So, and at stop signs, don't come to a complete stop. That's a big one. Because if you're at a complete stop, it's way harder to get going again. Let's see. So, How do snow in car? Yeah, you came in for art tips. You never knew you'd get driving in slushy ice tips. But I guess it's thematic with whiteout. Right. See, we're looking at the angle of our character, and we're it's not head on, we're looking slightly up. So it's about, well, what I need to do is get the bottom of this mask. There we go. So kind of get the bottom here. Maybe I should bring up the that might be why this is looking weird, now that I think about it. Because we should be looking underneath this, not down on it. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, we could, but it's not. I don't know. We'll do something like that. I'm gonna do this. He just needs to jut out a little more forward. Then we can subdue that down a little bit. There we go. Something like this. It's a little bit better. Do that. Hit that up here. Get that around. Because remember, we want this to read small. So that's very tiny. But it has enough value changes to still look kind of like a thing, you know. So I do know there's a little tangent right here. These are very close together. So I may want to, oh, nice pick. Well, let's do this. Let me get his ears a little smaller. There we go. There we go. So that way it's a little less of a tangent. And now the ice hook is just basically pointing back at his face. So it's one of those arrows that we talked about earlier. Let's do some of these teeth. Yeah, it's very much us making sure that the shapes read. That way when we come in and we photo bash some snow and snowstorm and fog and all that stuff over it, it'll look really strong. Something like that. So if we come over like that, change that perspective a little. So really you want this to be like the old cone shape. You want it to be the cylinder that comes to a point. So you want to work with it as if it's a 3D shape in space. It's always going to make it look a little more believable. And if we solidify some of these, make this look like an actual rope. Then you can even do the little bits of detail there to where the rope is going and being threaded through the teeth. Because even though it's low contrast, you can still put in the details, which I think is really going to sell the thing, you know. And the same thing here. It's kind of over here. So there we go. Kind of a leading line right here. All right. See, and this is just, yeah, our basic blocking. Because, actually, let's get rid of this one. And then kind of curve that through. Here we go. Because we're going to go over with pure white, smear a lot of the brush strokes, make it look like a true snowstorm. Then what's nice is once we kind of have that all figured out, if we want to come back in with very, very, very subtle, soft light, soft round brush of blue and just do little hits of blue, it's going to add color. And we can do that on areas that we want the viewer to look at. That way it's not a pure black and white card, but it's close. You know, it's very monochromatic. Get rid of this. Okay. Okay. Get rid of some of these sketch lines. Okay. Cool. So we have this. Now it's about getting all the detail in the outfit. Let me save. And then of course we'll come back to the face. We'll do other tweaks and stuff, especially after we add more snow. That's when we're going to go and really do finishing touches on faces and things like that. But yeah, I like the challenge of this one. It's in a weird way, it's relaxing. It's stressful, but it's also like, we'll just stay locked into where we're at now and then keep kind of pushing. Because I do like the subtlety so far. And then I wonder, this is actually going to be more of that cloth coming over. Like that. So we got that. Then we'll kind of do the same thing here. It folds in the cloth. What's also nice about this one is it's very, very heavy imagination based. So later we can use a lot of reference, but for right now, it's just, hey, what looks cool, what feels right, a lot of that, which it's always fun to see those out in the wild. As far as card art and tabletop art and stuff, because I'm like, oh yeah, a lot of that's from my imagination, and it's a cool feeling, you know. Let me hide that one. Let me darken this around that silhouette spot. Okay. Now let's figure out. So this is a Shaw. There. Kind of a torn deal right there. And almost he has this kind of goes over his stuff. It reminds me of Raziel from Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, because he has this like neckerchief type thing to where it's very, it looks really cool. It's almost like Spawn's cape, but it goes over his neck, and I think that's kind of a cool thing that we can go for with this. If it's like that, and then that. So yeah, that's really subtle differences in value, but I think that's what we're gonna stick with. So we'll kind of come over here, we'll kind of, no, we want to rip that. Same thing. Same thing there. Seems like there's a lot of here. Make the cloak solid. That can come down. It's really trying to keep that same strong shape that we had before. Maybe even make it stronger. Yeah, and then we have the lighter part of the pickaxe right there. Okay. So that's going to be darker. So and that's still like, these are bandages almost. So we will do this. Come into play. And then, yeah, something like that. Really, it's more just about, and actually, let's bring this over, because this is supposed to connect to his arms right there, in which his body, so it's almost like a tank top that he has on. but it does have a sleeve out here, so it comes up. It's almost like the ninja gear that they would have in like the 80s and 90s, like that Mortal Kombat 2 style ninja stuff. He's kind of nice because he looks almost like Shredder in a way, like the way his outfit is all set up. Here, let me make this brush bigger. All right. Something like that. Now, this is where it gets real tricky. I would like to darken and lighten some of this, but I still need it to read as a separate piece apart from all this other stuff. So the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to take, let me see what the middle is between, we have this and this. Oh my gosh. That means the middle is somewhere right here. Is that right? Maybe. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to just darken in some of these folds. Little bit. All right. Get those subtle little hits of extra depth. Phew. I mean, I think we found it. I think we found a decent value range that's allowing us to get the type of detail we need. So like that one's darker because it's under. Same thing here. Darker because it's under, darker because it's under. Same there, same there. So this is gonna be darker coming up this way. And this is gonna be darker. Yeah. Now it's starting to read as like a character that exists in 3D space. It's all about that value control. Over here. And like the reason why we're not doing the pickaxe or anything right now is that is going to be maybe our most highly rendered thing as far as detail. So what we're probably going to do is we're going to find some royalty free like handles for axes or something like that, and then we're just going to go ahead and bash that in right there and then paint over it. And then we're going to get some metal and we're going to black and white it. We're going to pull down the contrast and we're going to kind of fit it into our shape. And then paint over that as well. So all the stuff we do use as far as photo bashing, which is, you know, it's a thing, and it happens a lot in the entertainment industry. It happens a whole lot in the movie and video game industry. A little less so in fantasy art, but it still happens pretty regularly. You use basically what's considered royalty free. So it might be stuff you have to buy, or there's a few websites out there that have royalty-free photos that you can use. Basically, it's a very quick way to get in detail, and then it's up to the artist to use the information that they need from it, and then, you know, get rid of the rest. Like, if you're a big fan of stuff like Gwent, the Witcher card game, and I think Total War has a card game called Elysium, which I actually signed up to be a part of, and they said they were overbooked and I wasn't quite ready, which is true. That was last year. I wasn't ready. They actually, in the art description, they were like, be very good at photo bashing and then hiding the photo bashing. So I was like, hey, fair play, you know. So it's a standard thing that happens, but the secret is to make it look like you didn't use a photo for your texture. So that's why I'm trying to paint as much as possible right now, because it's going to be easier to kind of tie that all in as we start adding that detail. And I'm going to get this, some more, because you want everything to be legal. That's very, very important. You don't want to break no laws, man. That's a great way to never get hired for anything ever again. And to be fair, I've probably spent too much money on royalty-free photo packs on places like ArtStation and Gumroad and stuff over the course of the past year. You know, you just get it to collect it, and you never know when you're going to need it. So it's nice to just have like a library of it that you can go back to and not worry, because you already have the license for it, you know. And then what's nice is that way, if the art directors need proof, you can send them your copy of the license, and then they can use that as proof that, like, see, our artist didn't break the law. Okay, so it's getting there. It is looking okay. It's looking good. I'm happy with how it's reading. I like the big shapes. I like that it looks pretty smooth now. Excited to where this is happening. I think a lot of the time spent should be in making the materials look good and you know what I mean, like making all that stuff work well. That's kind of too much of a shadow because there's not a lot of light to play off of, but we'll do this anyway. We'll kind of play off. There we go. And to add some of that shading for a cone. We'll do that across all of these. And come back with white, go over that. This just adds a little bit of grit and a little bit of information to these to make them appear a little bit more realistic. Like I said, we could probably go and photo bash a shark tooth over these, but I just want to make sure that what we have right now looks decent. It looks okay before you start adding any photo texture to it. So we'll keep that one a little less sharp, almost like it's receding into the snowstorm. Yeah, these are the fun parts because you can start seeing the final, like, in your head. You can start seeing it and be like, oh yeah, this is gonna work, or oh man, I need to really change this and this. But this is a good place to be in because it's solid information. Yeah, we'll do that too because he has almost like a Shogun Bushido armor. I can't remember what, there's a term for it for up here, your shoulder armor, but Bushido have a very specific name for it. So we're gonna make sure we do that as well. So it's like that, and then circle, circle. Oh yeah, and then it's actually made up of lines like that, of the pockets. Because yeah, this is our basically our ode to Akira Kurosawa. Nice black and white, very dynamic. This, see, you can spend so much time just adding little tiny swoops and scoops and to be fair, this looks really dramatic and I like the way this looks. this is kind of wrong, because if we're having such a crazy snowstorm, all of these should be like this. But see how that doesn't quite look... doesn't quite look right to me? Maybe a few of these we can... Basically, you want them whipping and whirling around with the snow. And then you can even come back over here. Do that. There we go. Yeah, man. I'm feeling it pretty good. Need to up this value a little bit on that. And what this is, we can even do that. Get him one of these darkers right here. And see, you're sort of like setting this in there, like so. And then those will curve around. So want to make sure that stays fairly narrow for the folds. Looks like it breaks out from there. Then you're coming up. So it has a nice little pocket that it's setting into. Same thing here. I want this to sort of emit out. And then kind of smooth over. There we go. And then we can actually do that same kind of shape over here. So it looks like it's bunching up. We want to sell that idea that this is a pretty thick cloak top. So it's just about thinking about it in 3D space, and like if there's a fold, if it's like pinched over, and this is the type of stuff we're definitely going to use reference on during the final push. Like if cloth or whatever material is like against your body, it's probably going to be stretched and smooth. However, as it gets looser at different spots, you're going to get bigger folds and drapes and things like that. And then as it gets to where it gets a little tighter, you're going to see that the fabric actually bundles a little bit. So that's one of the main things that we want to pay attention to, because since there's not a lot of other details to put in this piece, you want the fine-tuned details to really pop and really stick out. Which is why I said previously, like, not only is this the most simple looking commission I've done for Guildhouse games, it's by far the most difficult and the most challenging. Yo, welcome Tai Pi, welcome. Yeah, we're in the middle of this, so I do apologize if the power goes out and the stream disconnects, because Texas is under a state of emergency because of all of our snow, which is fitting since we're doing a snow drawing for Varia. So we got this. Just kind of see that snow right there kind of piling up. It's working very, very light. So yeah, we have our character in a snowstorm. Oh, I hear big trucks. Might be the electric company coming to do rolling blackouts. So we're gonna do that a little darker. Let's bring this back over. So yeah, instead of the cloak being darker, let's just make the underneath darker. That makes sense anyway, because this is going to be catching less light, even though there's not a lot of light to catch because it's all diffused under snow and atmosphere. That still gives us what we need as far as slight contrast difference, but it's not killing what we already have. Let me save. Oh, but you live on a hill. Yes, that would be very stressful in regards to snow. So I totally feel you. We got that. And then what's nice is we can actually use these shapes right here as like a tundra, like spiky mountain tundra stuff. And that's an easy fix because all you do, just grab that. There you go. Pretty much done. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to overkill. And just have kind of that right there. Maybe that can be straight down. And then this, we can actually bring down. So we can extend these values down a little bit. And then now it looks even more like that atmosphere is attaching itself to this snow. All right. Let's go ahead, darken that. Yes. So this is super subtle value shifts to show what we need. But what's cool about that, we have that. Check this out. Let's go gradient map it. You can make some really cool like this type of thing. Look at that. It added some color, but it's still super smooth. So this is the type of thing that we're going to be doing whenever we start really finalizing. Is we're going to have this, we're going to have some very subtle shifts, because as we have our references, you can see that even through a snowstorm, there's still a little bit of color. Alrighty, thanks for hanging out. Thank you so much. It's good to see you. There's still little bits of color, so you can see a slight skin tone here. You can see a little bit of the hood's color. So we do want color, but it's going to be so blown out because of all of this atmosphere and the density of the fog and the snow and the sleet. So that's why working with a gradient map is so much fun, is because you can introduce that color without having to change a lot of what you're doing. So like right now, see, we're just in that black and white right here. and then you just introduce a little bit of that nice blue in the darks, but then you keep the whites white and it like light gray. Very cool. I like it. I like it. Definitely saving that before power gets out. I'm just convinced it's gonna happen. I just don't know when. It's funny, there's a slight optical illusion here because this looks like there's a shadow on whatever this is, which is not true. So the nice thing about having the gradient map is we're just going to paint below it. That way we can always just turn on the gradient map and get that effect whenever we need it. Cool. So we got our ice pick right there. So let's come over here. Okay. So I did hide the ice pick, but I'm going to keep it on its own layer. That way we can just select the shape if we need to start doing some craziness here in a little bit. So we're going to go right here. In fact, we can probably start working our way to the photo stuff right now. Got that, and then a little bit of that other light to kind of hit here. So yeah, you have that nice kind of where it's coming away from you, and then also we have that cast shadow. It's not a big cast shadow, but just enough to know that this is in 3D space, because we have our ranger's head kind of blocking the path. Then, if we really want to get crazy, check this out. Pure white. Look how much brighter pure white is compared to the values that we have right now. It's a big difference. But that's why we wanted to keep that this way and wanted to work really subtle right now. So that way all of our main focal points, like let's say eyeballs, so if we wanted like that, and see how they're like piercing through almost, and then you like hit that light, it's a pretty cool look. Like, I like that. Now it'll be, of course, it'll be up to the Anthony and Sean and the directors over at Guildhouse if they like that idea of the bright white eyes coming through. But I think it's pretty cool. I think there's something to it, because if we make some of the other snowflakes that same color white, it's going to be like, oh, are those eyes? Or is that just snow? Like, what is that? And that's the vibe, after talking with Anthony, that's the vibe they want, is like, you think you see something, but you're not sure. And that's overall the vibe we want to give. So we'll keep those white for right now, because I do like that look. But that's something easy that we can go back and manipulate later. And that, and then you can even do like an ice pick. Oh. Some little details like that. See what I mean? It's just about really allowing the little details to tell a lot of the story. And then let's come straight down. It's a fin. Save. Okay. Okay. Get some of these. Very subtle. This is, I think, going to be one of those cards. Hopefully the players will see it and like it and be like, oh, that looks cool. But really, in a weird way, I kind of want other artists that are in the industry to look at it and be like, what in the world? Like, how did you control those values? Like, it's a weird thing, but you kind of want to, each one of these projects, the reason why I love them so much, not only are they a lot of fun, and, you know, very kind of head scratching and make you think about it, but it's cool things you can show your art buds to other people in the industry and be like, hey, check this out. Huh? You do black and white like that, huh? Like, it's just a fun way to kind of egg each other on and kind of push each other, you know, because the better we all get, the better the industry gets. And like, we want to raise the stakes, we want to raise the bar each time. I mean, first and foremost, you want your client to be happy, but then after that, if you can give yourself a little something to bring to the water cooler, like, go for it. You know what I mean? Absolutely go for it. So really, kind of the face area I'm liking. I think there's not a lot to do there. I think this is primarily going to be more of a, let's work on the outfit, let's work on the ice pick, and then let's put snow over this. Yes, that's in a weird way. It's exactly like American Psycho, showing off the business cards. Like, no one else cares. No one else even notices, but they're like, oh, look at this whitewash, the egg wash. Oh, but it's so true. Every industry has that. Every single industry, which is so funny. Well, that movie's so good, man, is how true it is. Terrifyingly. Here, we're going to scoop that pocket. There you go. Let's bring another pocket right here. Cool. Let's see, we got bam. Yeah, I'm digging how this is looking. Even small. Like, I know we're going to get rid of a lot of the real high contrast on the ice pick, but I'm thinking this is looking pretty good. We might even bring some of this white from the tundra back here. Let's do that right now. See what that looks like. dim water cooler boners. Let's see. I'm going to that brought up here, so maybe like a can. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty neat. And like slowly kind of recede back into the into the white right here. Yeah, get that nice subtle shift. There we go. And doing this and kind of making lines out of it, hopefully is like the snow getting caught on the rocks, but it's out of focus. That's kind of the vibe that I want to get here. And then, because if we bring up Thomas's art for his Magic the Gathering stuff, this is how he shows kind of rock formations. Is he does this type of thing. The sharp edges. Makes it look like some of these rocks are here. So it has that tundra feel. You get those shapes. You know, maybe we'll come down a little bit. I could get a rock texture brush. In fact, I might do that here in a minute. But it's cool to kind of figure out what the shapes should be without that. And see, this is just me color picking and then painting back and forth over what this should be. Once again, subtlety, subtlety, that's what we need. Name of the game. It's funny because the card effect is not subtle at all. Basically, it's like a fog of war. And then your opponent can't grab onto a lot, you know? So we have that. Save. Yeah, it's getting there. It is definitely getting there. Okay. So, it's kind of nice. We were only planning to stream for about 2.5 hours, so we got another 30 minutes. We might make it the whole way, gang. I do not believe I'm going to finish this card on this installment of the stream, but later in the week, I will be streaming again, and I think we will actually wrap it up on stream, so we will see, we will kind of see where we come to in regards to that. Yeah, and maybe some lost edges here. Lost edges would be a good idea, because that way it kind of plays into the whole dynamic of, is it really there? Am I seeing things? And lost edges are good anyway. It makes the paintings more interesting. So anytime I can get an excuse to do lost edges, I'm excited, you know. Then let me because edge control is one of those very artsy fartsy things, but it's very fun to be able to do it because it really does give a whole different life to a painting. Minify. I'll probably lasso tool in a minute and make that a little sharper, but there we go. So the shapes are making more sense. So the shapes are definitely making more sense. And then we have this. So let's take a look at our different inspiration things. Okay, so like right here, I love the way Thomas did these rocks. See, there's a subtle blue hit. Actually, I bet that's gray, but gray compared to an orange brown looks blue. But you see the really subtle kind of, you can tell he did a gradient map as well. Basically, he probably did kind of that brown gradient map to have what's called a, I call it mother color. That's the way I was taught way back when. Mother color is a color that's pronounced throughout the entire piece that every other color is based off of. So with this one, Thomas's mother color is brown for sure, because you can see this brown is kind of the same color as this right here, same right here. Yellow is a form of brown, so it's just different lightness. And then you have the light hits with some clouds and stuff. Now, we're zoomed in. This is probably with a lens of about 85 millimeter, if I were to bet, because it's kind of zoomed, it's kind of focused in. But so with lenses, I would say anywhere between the 35 to 50, so about 42 to 48-ish, is what the human eye sees. That mimics the round density of our vision cone and all that stuff. So if you want a photo to look like you're there, do a 35 to 50 millimeter lens. This one's a little more action focused, so it's going to be more tightly focused, which means it's a little higher in millimeter. The higher millimeter you get, the more tunnel vision. So my tunnel vision here, mine's at like 200 millimeter, which means we could technically be like 50 feet away, but our telephoto lens, our 200 millimeter focus lens, is so zoomed in that everything else around our subject is blurred out. You can't tell what it is. On the flip side, if you had a 12 millimeter lens, or the lowest I've seen is like 8 millimeter, that's your fisheye lens. That's what sees everything. It's all in a weird clarity, crisp. It looks very unnatural because things aren't blurred. Kurosawa, I bet this is a 200 millimeter. Either that or like 120-ish, because you can see how this background's out of focus. But then you got Mifune, who's here, and he is just star of the show, man. This was actually the camera reference that I used whenever I sent this over to Anthony. I was like, hey man, I'm a Kurosawa mark, so here's 3 different camera lenses. I bet this one's 120 millimeter. And then this one's probably closer to your 85-ish, 50 to 85 millimeter shot, because you can still see some of the detail on the roofs back here, and you can see a lot of the nice clouds. Like, I just love this shot. It's one of the most famous shots in film history. It's Yojimbo coming in, looking good. But then you got Seven Samurai right here, which he shot with a slightly larger millimeter lens. And then Yojimbo yet again, star of the show. That's what we wanted. And I tried to mimic that by kind of out of focus here. So like, that's really what I wanted. I wanted it because the cool thing about this, if you read Varia lore, which I do as it's part of my job, but Varia lore, there's a world called the Forge world. And basically what it is it's a mix of this awesome volcano, blacksmithy, Native American samurai. Like they took all of this cool real world kind of the ethos of these different cultures and put it together on a war world, which is where our character here is from. So whenever they're like, oh, it's like a samurai, I was like, oh, Kurosawa? So then I was able to come in. Anytime I get to like watch or study Kurosawa, that's a good day at work, man. That's a good day at work. But yeah, that's why I'm so stoked to do this one. Like, I get my Kurosawa guy on here. Ah! And like, they're gonna pay me money to do this. Are you kidding me? It's like giddy, you know? But yeah, like, so a lot goes into it. So even if, that's something I want really to kind of showcase, is even if it looks like, oh, you just painted the weird panda bear and he's in black and white and, you know, there he is. All of it's building towards something. Like, every decision has been made. Like we really parsed this out. We really talked about it. We discussed it. We looked at all of our options, worked within the confines of what the team needs, gave it a little bit of cinematic spark. That's what the job is. And that's why I love it so much, is every single piece you get is going to be different. It's going to be different camera angle. The focus will be different. What's the story you're trying to tell? So then you can look at the people that came before you, the masters of their craft, in this case, Akira Kurosawa, and take what you need, take what you love about it, and put it and infuse it in there. That way, it really starts singing, and it's filled with life, because it's almost a love letter. Like, this would definitely, I would be remiss if I said this was not a love letter to Kurosawa. It definitely is. I hope to do a lot more like this in the future. It's funny because a few months ago, I ordered Sanjuro, Yojimbo, and Seven Samurai on Blu-ray. I got paid a little extra, and I was like, you know what, man? I got to get these movies. I got to get them on Blu-ray. They're long, but they're beautiful. It's like watching a painting. It's so cool. But yeah, it's just so much fun to be able to bring that love of those movies and those stories in to something, because this helps build the lore and the mythos of Varia too. Like, I'm very lucky that I'm on the opening early stages of the art development team for Varia, because it's our job to give Varia a voice. What's the voice of Varia that's different than, let's say, Magic or Hearthstone or Mythgard or Legends of Runeterra? It needs to be its own thing. And I'm really thankful that Anthony and the team at Guildhouse Games have allowed me to kind of play a little bit. Because hopefully what that's going to do is it's going to get it to where you cannot imagine a Varia set without Wes Gardner art. That's my goal, at least. It's like, I want you to think of Varia and be like, oh yeah, that's the thing that Wes does. I mean, you want some sort of artwork to be a staple. And that's why I love working so closely with the art team. And that's why I was so stoked to have Warhammer as a client in Cubicle 7, because hopefully if I get in good and I start delivering good quality work that sells books, maybe I can get my voice in that big IP to where people can look at Warhammer 40K and be like, oh yeah, you know, that I know a guy that works on that, but also I can't imagine Warhammer without it. And that would be the ultimate kind of honor, you know. So to be part of an early art team of Varia is super exciting, because you get to craft it. You get to, yeah, you're the go-to. I could hopefully one day be an art director for Guildhouse Games, because I've done it and I know what it's supposed to look like and feel like, and that's overall the goal, is to get better and better, not only in my own art, but be able to teach others who might be interested in joining the team what to look for and what makes our art different. Because yeah, we could do art that looks a lot like Magic the Gathering. Yeah, man. Like, if you find your niche and then you're really passionate about it and you're super knowledgeable about it, you will be the go-to source. That's just how that works. So it's good to be a jack of all trades. It's good to have the muscle to be able to flex and be like, look, I can do this. If you need me to do it, I'm your man. But you also want to find what your niche is. So that's actually the interesting spot I'm at in regards to art, is, do I want to be a fully highly rendered artist, or do I want to really jump in on the painterly, big, thick brushstroke look? I want to do both. I want to get very good at both, which is hard to do. But I want to be known for something. I want to be the person that's known for, like, oh, that guy makes his digital paintings look like classical paintings, and I don't know how he does it. Like, that would be cool. That's kind of the goal right now. But with stuff like this, it's a little bit more illustrative. It's a little bit more comic book. But that's fine. That's actually a lot of fun because I get to flex a little bit. I get to stretch. I get to try things that I wouldn't have tried before. Just really neat opportunities. And I can geek out for a minute and mention other artists on Varia are super good. And a few of the artists on Varia are artists that I've looked up to for years. One of them is Kike Kotaki. He has done art for Guild Wars. He's done art for Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons. He's also done different comics, I want to say. He's worked for Marvel and DC. Dude is a genuine legend in fantasy art, contemporary fantasy art. And I'm on the same art team as he is. That's crazy. You know? So that's the dream right there, man. All right, so I think as far as the render, we're okay right now. Now I need to start finding materials to really make these like this handle come alive, this metal, maybe some of the cloth, maybe I can get some polymer stuff to texture right here. Yeah, maybe we get some of that, see like the cloth right here, how there's subtle little hoops and scoops and stuff. That's the type of thing that we want on our, it's almost like his gi, right? So, but yeah, overall, I mean, that's pretty good progress. I'm happy with how it's turning out. Because, I mean, we essentially went from... Yeah, we essentially went from this to where you can kind of see what the idea was to that, which is way more kind of highly rendered. Let me... So the you know, whenever you start off with this, and basically you just block out your shapes, and then you get right here, there's a little more subtlety in it. There's more weight to it. Yeah, I feel better about the shapes. I feel better about the blending of values. Everything's kind of scooping the one direction, which is good. Might try to change the design a little bit on the mask, but we can worry about that later. Yeah. Another fun thing you can do, save. You can image, where is the flip? Oh, there you go. Flip canvas horizontal. And that still reads okay. I'm actually pretty happy with that. Normally what you could do, if you really want to like freak yourself out, is you flip your canvas horizontally and you notice stuff that doesn't make sense immediately. Like the number one thing, oddly enough, that I see is this. I think it's because we already have this shape right here with the shark tooth. We don't also need it for the cloth. I feel okay about the pickaxe. Like it's a little wobbly. I need to sharpen it up a little bit, but we'll do that after we get the textures in. But overall, our Palabi, our ranger right here, I feel okay with him. I think it's turning out okay. And then see, we still have the little hints of the snow right here. But really what we're gonna do later, whenever we do this, is we're gonna get our brush, our white brush right here, like this type of thing, really come over the top. But then, not only are we gonna do that, you know, and it adds more of that depth to it, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our blending brush. We're gonna get our wet heavy mix. We're gonna get some charcoaly brushes like this, or actually flat textured. We're gonna bring this up a little bit, and then And you see how it adds that kind of nice tail to the snow? It shows that motion, and it shows us there's depth, and that's where we can come and do the really fun painterly blends and things to really drive this home. And then what you can also do is, since there's a lot of motion, you're going to come through here and actually kind of blend through some of these harder edges. In fact, I may actually keep some of this right here. I was just doing this as an example, but like we can actually use this. And then we're gonna kind of pull and see, you can do that too, to where you get kind of that artistic impressionism of a lot of this wind coming through. So these values are there. This gets a little scratchy right there. Same thing with these rocks right here. And see, it's loading because it has to calculate all these smudges. And then the same thing here. Very subtle shifts. And that's what we're kind of doing. We're blending between our values. And then we can even get like flat texture platinum. Come up, come up, come up, come over, come down. Really build in this ice. Then that one we can scoot. See, but some of these don't work as well. So like this top one, let's actually get rid of that one because it was a little too intense. But like we have this right here, so we can save, and then let's flip this back around. Yeah. See, that's looking cool. It still has movement. It still has the flow. It still has that ebb. And then then whenever you put that color on there, looks pretty slick. Pretty cool. Now it's really about refining this shape, really designing the ice pick. And then what you can do, whenever we have the gradient map, it's nice to have the grays. It's almost like, do we want to introduce any other colors? Because his cowl, kind of the ranger cloak, the hood, is brown. But ironically, because of the blues, it already looks brown. So we don't really need to add brown. Because color theory just says that if we want low contrast, gray is browner than blue. It just is. It's on the opposite end of the color wheel. So whenever you get complementary colors, you mix them like that, makes gray. So that works okay. We don't want to go pure black. We're so far away from pure black on any of this. It's hilarious. But that's fine. Because, I mean, this is called whiteout. We want it to be... And another thing you can do... Ooh, this will be a cool one. If we're here, and let me do, like, snow and texture. You get a splatter brush. Well, and I actually call this one splatter scatter because it scatters the sizes. Got pure white right here. Oh, that is on the eraser tool. I need it on the regular old brush tool. See that? So there's like little... And then you can even bring that down. Actually, let's keep it white and lower the opacity. Make this big. Check that out. So now you have this depth of field. You have this cool, like, it's trying to focus and it might not be able to. Kind of hit that. See, there you go. Now it's starting to come alive, which is really cool. We're gonna keep just working in black and white for right now. Kind of vignette each of the corners with a lot of white right there. Yeah, I'm excited about this. Might be my favorite card I've made for Varia. Just, it's fun. Like, it's challenging, but it's interesting. Calamity, it was more like finger crossing, hoping that it was going to work. You know, I was so caught up in like, oh man. But this one's just a joy to paint. This is cool. And then what I was thinking, like, if we bring in a little bit of light here to a soft round, and then we also do soft light on the brush mode. Let me figure out. Okay, and that's like a different type of blue. It's like a darker blue. And then you have something like, oh, not that one. Whoops. Nope. We want that to be normal, and then we want this to be soft light. The layer itself. Yeah, that's what we want. Because his actual deal right there is like a turquoise. And then, yeah, if we wanted to get, like, it looks like there's a red. Barely bring in red. Kind of bring it down a little bit. And then we want to bring in, like, small little bit of but see, that's almost too much color still. We're barely hitting the color and it's still too much. It almost makes it look too bright. So if we come over here, let's bring that blue back down. Let's taper it down a little more. Let's do something like that. And then if we bring that opacity all the way down to like there. Super subtle. Bring it up a little bit. So you have that. So really what this is, a little bit of the color. So yeah, this is one that's basically gonna build like a fog of war, which I'm excited about. I think that's gonna be a really cool mechanic. Cause see, this is what colors do in a lot of atmosphere. You can still see a hint of them, but they're so blown out from that atmosphere. Even the real bright, piercing stoplights right here. That might even be a snowplow, now that I think about it. Because I can see a slight thing right here. So I wonder if this is the lights of an emergency snowplow. So it's very tricky to kind of nail down what we need. And then what's funny is, like, you can even do this and do like a brightness contrast layer. Bring that brightness up. Look at that. God, it's almost so subtle you can't tell there's anything on it. Maybe that's what, maybe that's what we're after. I don't know. But then the contrast, you actually want to put down a little bit. Well, let's do this. Yeah, because see, that's a little too dark. So, and that's where we're at currently. So if you bring that brightness a little bit up, like this, contrast a little bit like this. Then if we get the hard round, or no, soft round, excuse me, because we're on a mask layer, get it a little darker where his eyes are. Just a tiny smidgen. That's actually too much. Let me come back over here with white. We'll just kind of keep doing that over and over. Basically what this is hiding and then showing the hiding and showing the mask. We have, because that's what the mask looks like, and then with it turned off, that's what it looks like. So there's that subtle little bit of difference. So, but if we wanted to go to where there's no light at all, we can go and sort of block out / erase that lightness layer. And that way we still get some cool depth, but it's not overkill. See, even that's too much. Wow. I could probably do a 50% gray brush because it's in between black and white. But we'll just do this. Kind of stamp it like that. Yeah, not bad. All right. I think this is actually a pretty good stopping point. At least for today, especially if we don't know when the power is going to go on and stuff like that. Want to make sure that we get to a decent stopping point. I'm going to email this to Anthony real quick and kind of see if we're more on the right track. So there's still some refinement I would like to do. I think the pickaxe needs a little bit of work. I do want to hit up the cloth a little bit more and try to get some of those variations in. But I think we're close. I think we can lock this after about 2 or 3 more hours of rendering and maybe some photo bash and stuff. I think we're there. The real balance will be, and this will really be up to Anthony and Sean and the rest of the crew at Guildhouse, I need to make sure that this prints okay, because usually with card art or any tabletop art really, it's going to print darker than what it looks like on a screen, because it just is. The way computer monitors and electronics work, they're not only backlit sometimes, but they're front lit, meaning they're shining white, pure white light onto stuff, which with a book, you don't have that, or with cards even. And they're going to be played at tables. Hopefully the place they play them at will be well lit, but we want to make sure that the art is readable no matter what lighting condition you have. So that's a whole other thing. But that's just really changing these brightness contrast layers, or maybe changing the stuff a little bit. You know, like I personally, well, I don't know. I was about to say I personally like this one more, but I don't know if I do. But of course, you have to remember I'm kind of trained to see contrast. Like that's my job. So I like something with slightly higher contrast, slightly darker darks, slightly lighter lights. This crushes those, but that's the point of what we're trying to do. So yeah, overall, I think we made very good progress today. I think Anthony's going to be pleased with the progress that we've made. I'm interested to hear what his notes will be. But this is the subtle color. I don't see us adding a lot more color than this, really. So we have that. Yeah, and I think that's going to do it for today's art stream. We will be doing some more art streams. Maybe another art stream to really finalize this one later in the week. I need to see what the weather is doing. And it's not one of those my dog ate my homework things. I just need to see if like the internet will be alive. over the next 2 or 3 days. So, but if you're here in Texas, please stay safe. Let me get to the bigger screen. Please stay safe. Please take care of yourself. It's a pleasure. Thank you all so much for hanging out. It's great to see you, Marco. I'm stoked. Dude, your YouTube is crushing it lately, so congrats on that, man. Huge congrats. Thank you, my friend. So we're gonna do more of these for sure. We also have the album cover to finish for Death Sentience, which is also turning out pretty good. I think they're very happy with how it's coming along, and I'm very happy with it too, which is always a plus. But yeah, go check out Varia. If you go to guildhousegamesllc.com/Varia, you can play it online on your internet. Free on the browser. You can do that. They also have Tabletopia, I believe, is where you can actually, it's almost like Tabletop Simulator, but online. So you can get some buddies. You can have a full set of decks of Varia cards and play online right now, free of charge. Crazy. This is art coming from an upcoming deck, which they have not fully announced yet, but I think they're going to be doing that pretty soon. But keep it locked. Go follow them on Play Varia on Twitter, twitter.com/playvaria. I retweet them all the time, all that good stuff. But go check them out. And of course, you know where to find me. You got links everywhere, man, every which way. Yeah, a lot of fun. If you have any questions, hit me up on the Varia Discord. Please, please, please. I love answering questions. I love talking to the players of the game, all the fans out there. Love talking to you guys. And hey, if you're an art doofus like I am, join my Discord where we post art all the time. So if you want to see other pro artists in their natural habitat, we can let me see if this works right here. Discord? Yeah. So join my Discord. Go do that. I was hoping it worked. The art doofuses, that's where we hang out, man. But no, some incredible artists, some traditional artists, artists first making their way in the illustrative industries. You got a few other pro artists in there. It's a tight-knit community right now. Hopefully it's going to be growing over the next few months. I'm going to be sending some invites to my fellow Warhammer artists, so be prepared to see some actual, of course we can't break NDA, but art from Warhammer artists. Some of the stuff that we may have made in the past, some stuff as soon as it gets published, we're allowed to post it, so some cool stuff down the line. But anyways, that's my time. Thank you all so much for hanging out. We will see you all very soon. Please stay safe, stay warm, stay out of all this mess, for sure. But we will see you guys next time. And you'll be able to check out this video on demand later tonight. I'll get it on YouTube first thing, because I'll just do it through my 4G if I have to on my phone. But anyways, take care, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.